So I know I don't normally talk about anime news stuff just because I don't follow it that heavily unless I'm doing research for a review or I just have a personal question with something. But this showed up when I was watching my anime stuff last night. It just popped up on the site I use. And at first I wasn't going to watch it because it just said concept movie, which I've seen concept movies. It's literally just stick figures with descriptions of what characters could be doing. So I didn't really care. But the more time passed, the more it started nagging at me. What is this little thing? What could this possibly be? What does this mean for the Madoka Magica franchise? So I figured I'd check it out, and after I watched it, at first it was like, okay, whatever. But then the more I thought of it, the more it nagged at me again. So I guess that is kind of like the series. So I am here to talk about this little trailer, just because I want to see what other people really think of it, if going ahead with a Madoka Magica movie 4 is a good idea or not. But just a quick sum up of my thoughts on Madoka Magica, because that review was 2 years ago, and my thoughts on it have changed a little bit. There's stuff that I think is very good in Madoka Magica. There's stuff that I think is done incredibly well, namely involving the Sayaka character and her story arc, and I like the animation and the visual style, and I like the balls to the wall attempt, and I like that it's really trying to do something different. Unfortunately, the rest of the series falls very flat. As for the most part, Madoka herself is a very generically bland character. The other magical girls in the series either don't get enough screen time or just kind of come in and out depending on what their role is. Same goes for any and all supporting characters. As good as the visual style is, it does ultimately go to shit, especially when you consider the final battle in the series is with a giant upside-down cupcake. And really, I think it's just one of those deconstruction, really smarty-thinky type shows that isn't really smart, but it wants you to think it's smart by just throwing in really heavy-handed dialogue and a lot of, dark and serious imagery, especially at the end where, little spoiler here, they basically give Madoka the Jesus treatment. So really at its core, it's just a series that I look at as having some good stuff and not much else. Then you have the movies they did, which is really where I think is going to show if this movie actually happens or not. And that is that the movies did not do super well, to my understanding, nor were they overly well received. With Rebellion, the first two movies are just recaps of the series, because 2 years happened in between the movies. And the third film is actually more or less the finale to the whole thing. But even that, after the film came out, they admitted is a backdoor to either doing another series or a fourth film. But personally, I really love the ending to Rebellion. The majority of the movie is just time filler to get us to the ending, to which case they probably should have just done a 20-minute OVA type thing. But personally, I think the ending is exactly what I want from a series that is supposed to be all dark and thinky and twisted. It is a dark ending. It is very strange. It is very thought-provoking. It makes you think a lot about stuff you wouldn't have, like, what is creation? What is the happy ending? What is in our control? What is not in our control? I think it's a really well-done ending, if only for the fact that they just kind of went with it, and clearly there wasn't a lot of thought that went into it after that. So going into this trailer, I'm not really quite sure what to expect, as this is a pretty up-and-down franchise. But honestly, what I liked about the trailer was the creepy tone and the creepy atmosphere, and a lot of the restraint in it. There's not a lot of, kooky horror imagery, which I would expect. A lot of it was just sort of subtle, and that eerie background music and the well use of the cat thing's eyes and all of that I thought was really nice and would be really good if the film could do that. Unfortunately, the rest of the trailer, and I like some of the little concept arts we've seen. I like seeing that Sayaka might be relevant instead of the series where they just got rid of her for the sake of getting rid of her. The concept art looks interesting. It looks interesting, but then you have a statue heading to Earth and all this weird stuff, Mammy's got explosions around her and all that. And that's kind of what I would afraid the movie would devolve into, because that's kind of what the series devolved into, is just whatever sort of weird philosophical, or at least what we think is philosophical, imagery we can throw into a scene. And considering I like the Rebellion ending, I'd kind of like it to stay that way. So I just don't really know what to expect. Again, if it happens and we get this movie, I'll watch it. For those of you who don't know, this trailer, the reason you might have heard of it already is because low-res versions have shown up all over the internet from people just like with a video camera, just like who were there at whenever the trailer was originally shown. And I want to point something out for a minute. Whenever this happens at like San Diego Comic-Con and stuff, trailers and stuff get leaked like that. The next day, it's like, we're putting out a gag order. We got to take this down. We got to take this down. We got to take this down. Or they just release the trailer full HD and then bitch about it. Japan was just like, okay, you guys can watch your low-res versions. We'll let it out when we want to, when we're planning to let it out. We'll let everything still flow organically. And I think that really is the way to go about it because, come on, we all watched the leaked versions of trailers from people with cameras. We all know we do. But we still get super psyched when we see the HD versions and when the movies come out and all that stuff. And I think anime is no different. So I really like taking that approach of whatever will be here. As for releasing the trailer now, I don't know if that means the movie's going into production or not. It might just be that they're doing like what they did with that quote-unquote leaked Deadpool footage, where it was just to see if people are interested. And so far, people seem really interested in another Madoka movie. I would be too. If it happens, I'll watch it. If it doesn't, I don't mind. If we never hear anything from this franchise again, I'm not going to lose sleep over it. But what do you think? In the comment section below, give me your thoughts on this trailer and if you think another Madoka movie is a good idea or not, or if you even care about that franchise at all. And as always, click to like and click to subscribe, and if it shows up so we can review it.